This is Autoline Daily, dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Ford reported its financial earnings for the last year, and the numbers are abysmal. The company sold 5.4 million vehicles, but that was nearly 600,000 vehicles less than the year before. And as a result, its revenue dropped $4.4 billion. Its operating profit plummeted 82%, and its net profit was a meager $84 million, down 98%. No doubt results like this are going to put enormous pressure on Ford CEO Jim Hackett, and John has something to say about that at the end of today's broadcast, and he will dive into GM's earnings as well. The all-new Cadillac Escalade is no longer a teaser, as the 2021 model debuted yesterday. The front-end design brings it more in line with the brand's other utility vehicles. But other than that, the overall exterior look is pretty similar. The interior was inspired by the Escalade concept and is dominated by its curved OLED display screens. A 7.2-inch touchscreen for driver information sits to the driver's left. A 14.2-inch display is used for the instrument cluster, and a 16.9-inch infotainment screen is off to the driver's right. Another neat feature is an augmented reality navigation system that puts directional overlays on top of live street views. Since the Escalade shares its platform with GM's other large SUVs, you'll see some similar features and powertrain options. It has independent rear suspension, which helps clear up some interior space, as well as magnetic ride control and an electronic limited slip differential. A 6.2-liter V8 with 420 horsepower comes standard, and for the first time, it will be available with GM's new 3-liter diesel engine. Both engines are mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. The all-new Escalade goes on sale in the third quarter of this year. Speaking of reveals, Kia showed off its new compact SUV concept for the Indian market called the Sonnet. It's a good-looking vehicle that has a little bit of a dune buggy vibe, with large wheels and flared fenders on a small body. And we'd also say the rear pillar was inspired a bit by the Chrysler Pacifica. While there's no pictures, the interior features a 10.25-inch display screen, Bose audio system, and a manual transmission. Kia says the Sonnet concept previews a future production vehicle, but we don't expect styling to change that much, since that production vehicle launches in the second half of this year.
The world is changing at an ever-increasing pace. No matter what the mode of transportation, there is always the need for an efficient propulsion system. And that's exactly what BorgWarner has been doing since the earliest days of the automotive industry.
We've seen a number of cities around the world introduce plans to ban the use of cars powered by internal combustion engines. And now Reuters reports Britain is stepping up its efforts to curb pollution and will end the sales of new gasoline, diesel, and even hybrid vehicles by 2035, 5 years earlier than planned. While automakers have over a decade to make the transition, gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles still account for 90% of the car market in Britain. France also plans to ban sales of fossil-fueled powered vehicles by 2040, and we expect more countries to follow suit over the coming years. And the leader of the electric revolution, Elon Musk, is laughing all the way to the bank. Thanks to Tesla's stock surge over the last few days, Reuters reports Musk's 19% stake in the company is now worth $30 billion, which is $16 billion more than it was at the start of 2020. And he's also in line to receive a record-breaking payout from Tesla. He doesn't earn a salary. Instead, he opted for a pay package based on market value targets. And with the latest surge in Tesla's stock, Elon Musk has hit 2 targets that could unlock options worth $1.8 billion. And speaking of Elon Musk, he hinted that the company is looking at building a Gigafactory in Texas. Yesterday, he sent out a tweet asking, "Giga Texas?" along with a poll asking users to respond with a hell yeah or nope. Nearly 200,000 people have voted as of this morning, with about 80% saying hell yeah. Nothing official has been announced yet, but last week Musk said the company needs more battery capacity to meet future demand. You know, I think most aerodynamic wheels are pretty ugly, but BMW is out to change that. It's previewing a new set of wheels that will first debut on the iX3, but will also be used on the iNext and i4. Plastic inserts with an aluminum surface sit over top a cast aluminum wheel. Both the inserts and the base wheel can be painted with either a matte or polished finish, and the pattern of the inserts can be switched around. So there's a lot of customization the owner can do. And not only do they look good, they also improve performance. BMW says they reduce drag by about 5% compared to the wheels on the standard X3, and when combined with a 15% weight savings, it extends EV range by 10 kilometers, or a little over 6 miles, based on the WLTP test cycle. And hey, don't forget to join us for Autoline After Hours this week. We got a great show lined up with John Manoogian, a former GM designer and the current director of design at the startup Quadrabot. Also joining us for that show is Lindsay Brooke from SAE International. So if you have any questions about the design world, send them our way to viewer mail at autoline.tv. And join us at 3 p.m. Eastern Time Thursday afternoon for some of the best insider discussions in the industry.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion, and by Borg Warner, propulsion solutions that support a clean, energy-efficient world.
General Motors reported its earnings this morning, and considering the company was hit by a 40-day strike by the UAW, the numbers look surprisingly good. General Motors sold 7.7 million vehicles last year, but that was down 668,000 vehicles from the year before. It earned $137 billion in revenue, which was down $9.8 billion from 2018. And yet, thanks to cutting expenses, its operating profit rose by $1 billion to $5.4 billion. But the bottom line was off by $1.3 billion. GM posted a net profit of $6.7 billion. If not for that strike, these numbers would have been much higher, and they certainly are much better than what GM's crosstown rival achieved. As we reported at the top of the show, Ford's financial earnings were abysmal, and the company's CEO, Jim Hackett, had this to say: "Clearly, I and my team are not satisfied with this level of performance." Whoops, whoa, wait a minute. I'm sorry, my mistake. That's what Hackett said about earnings in 2017. Here's another thing he said about earnings. "It's time to bury the year in a deep grave and grieve over what might have been." Whoops, sorry again. That's what he said about 2018 earnings. Okay, here's what he said about 2019 earnings. "A primary reason for that shortfall was our operational execution. It was simply not good enough." Uh-oh. Is Hackett throwing Joe Hinrichs under the bus? After all, Hinrichs is in charge of operations. And there's no question that the botched launch of the all-new Ford Explorer really hurt Ford earnings. Think about it a minute. Nobody at Ford should ever again criticize Tesla for its manufacturing problems. No more snide remarks about Tesla's manufacturing hell. For a company that's been building vehicles for over 100 years, the Ford Explorer launch was inexcusable. You know, Wall Street's been highly critical of Jim Hackett almost since he became CEO. And clearly, Ford's board of directors must be thinking about Plan B. Jim Hackett will turn 65 years old on April 22nd. Ford has a policy that top officers must retire when they turn 65, unless the board decides to extend their contracts. My guess is Hackett will not be invited to stay on much past his birthday. And on that ominous note, we wrap up today's report. Thanks for watching, and please join us again tomorrow.
Ward's is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.